guys, Erin Wester here. So I realized this morning that I've added probably 500, 1,000 people the last month, 2 months, and I haven't done a welcome video in a while. So a lot of you guys that are following me probably only know the snippets of things that I share about what's been going on with my health, about the loss my family is experiencing lately, about my migraines, about my emotional eating. But a lot of you probably don't really know a whole lot about me. I know a lot of you have been following me for a while, and we're pretty good friends on Facebook. We chat, we talk about stuff going on with each other, we give each other accountability. I know a lot of you, it's like that, but some of you are new. Some of you I've never talked to. Some of you like my stuff, and we've never really got to connect, and we've never really gotten to see what I can do to help. And I would love to help each and every one of you on this page, be it just to have a friend, someone to talk to that's been through the same things as you, or help in whatever you need. For those of you that know about my story, you know that I've changed a lot of my diet. I've done a lot of I'm working on doing a lot of nutritional stuff to fix my poor gut health, doing a lot of more natural ways to help my mood, things like that, instead of being on antidepressants. For a lot of people, antidepressants are the only thing that work. And for me, that's how I used to feel. I used to feel antidepressants were the only thing that work. But for a lot of people, it's true. That's what you need. But for me, I've gotten to learn that therapy and more of a natural way of going at things is working for me. I've had a few rough days, but I've had more good days than bad days, which is different for me. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Erin Wester, maiden name Effenheim. I have been an entrepreneur working in network marketing for almost 7 years now. In June, it'll be 7 years. Since June of 2010, I have been on 2 different weight loss journeys for my 2 different pregnancies. I have a 10-year-old son that is from a previous relationship. Even to go farther back than that, I was adopted when I was a month old and have a brother who was also adopted. And as a teenager, I competed nationally riding horses. So, I had a fantastic childhood. I had so many blessings, but I also had a lot of troubles and tribulations growing up. Feelings of not being good enough because I was adopted, a lot of competition anxiety from when I used to show horses, because those of you that know anything about the Arabian horse show circuit know that it's stressful and know that the national level is stressful. So yes, I did talk to a therapist about my competition anxiety back when I was starting when I was 13. So, I'm not new to therapy. I've gone to therapy. I've also been a social worker. I have a master's degree in clinical social work. So I have a clinical social work background. So even back then, competition anxiety started at 13. My emotional eating started at 13 because a lot of horse showing is what you look like and what size you are. And that's when my emotional eating started, because I showed in equitation, which is where they judge your form, things like that. And that is body image to a T. And at 13, you know that even normal 13-year-olds have huge body image issues. So I started binging and purging when I was 13. The purging stopped when I was about 16, and then it just was emotional eating issues where I just binge and gain weight. So I've had a lot of struggles growing up. I was extremely, my hair is really jacked up this morning. I had severe shyness issues. I was very, very, very shy. People thought I was stuck up, but I was just really scared to talk to people I didn't know. So I did things like forensics and peer helpers, things like that, to try to bring myself out of my shell, but it just did not work. So when I wanted to go to college, I wanted to be a horse trainer when I was 18. So I went to college up in UW River Falls, which is about 45 minutes east of Minneapolis, right over the Minnesota-Wisconsin border. So that's where I went to school. It was either there or University of Minnesota Crookston, which is way farther than 5 hours from home. But I wanted to go far enough away where nobody would know me. No one would know who I was. I wouldn't have to be the shy, quiet girl that people thought was stuck up. I could be whoever I wanted to be. So that is why I went to school 5 hours away. At the time, my dad was a pilot for Northwest, so I could drive to Minneapolis and fly home for free instead of driving the 5.5 hours home. So that was me when I was 18. I wanted to be a horse trainer. I went to UW River Falls for animal science degree with a minor in theater, strangely enough. I wasn't that great of an actress, but I really liked the technical aspect of theater, the lighting, the sets, those kind of things. And I did a lot of that stuff in high school. So it was kind of my nerd coming out. I was the nerd who did forensics, peer helpers. I was in choir. I was in all honors classes. So that was me. So I went to college 5 hours away and, started to drink alcohol, which I didn't do in high school. Started to smoke marijuana, which I had no clue what it was. So I went to college. So I quite shortly became an alcoholic. By 21, I was a full-blown alcoholic. I did okay in school. I had this one class called animal physiology, which I just kept failing and kept failing and kept failing. So I had to change my major. I changed to a business major. But I still had troubles in school. I had a lot of trouble in school. Even though I had a 3.65 GPA in high school, college was hard. It was hard for me to stay above 2.0. It was really hard. I was on academic probation a few times, and I kind of clawed myself out of it. But, I switched my major after about 3 years, which, is suicide. So after about 4.5 years, I still have a degree. So in my first semester of my 5-year senior, I just stopped going to class. I didn't go to any classes. I didn't take tests. I didn't write papers. I didn't do anything. And obviously, I got kicked out of school. I had a 1.3 GPA because I got zeros that quarter and that semester. So, obviously 1.2, I was kicked out of college. So I was going to be 23. I did not have a degree. I had wasted 4.5 years of tuition from my parents, and I was ashamed. I was an alcoholic. I was using marijuana, and I had gained 25 pounds since my freshman year of college. So, I was just so ashamed. I moved to Minneapolis. I couldn't go home. I moved to Minneapolis, got a job at the airport. My parents said they weren't going to help me anymore, but, those of you that have a drinking problem, that all your money goes to alcohol and you can't pay your rent. So that is what happened to me. And I called my parents every month, tell me pay my $550 rent in my 1-bedroom, 550 square foot apartment. And they always bailed me out. I don't know at that time if it was a good thing or a bad thing, but they always bailed me out. So I lived in Minneapolis for about a year, and then I decided, I have to do something else. I can't do this. I had met a boy. At the time, I didn't know he was 8 years older than me, but I met this boy. I did a lot of drugs that went to the bar. I met him at a bar. But, I just... things were going okay, but I needed something different. I needed something new. So I started looking for horse training jobs. I didn't have my degree yet, but I had so much experience because I had been riding horses since I was 7. I competed at the national level. I had worked as a horse groom every summer since I was 12. This is what I knew. So I looked for a horse training job and actually found one in Tucson, Arizona. So, I packed up all my stuff, drove everything down to Arizona, left Minneapolis, and trained horses in Arizona for a year. Well, I was going to go to school when I was down there. It didn't happen. There was lots of things I was going to do, but I was just so busy working that I didn't have time to do anything else. And obviously, things didn't go well. I missed my boyfriend. I missed my family. It was so far away. It was so hot in the summer. I just couldn't do it. So after a year, I packed myself back up and I moved back up to Minneapolis and moved back in with that good-for-nothing boyfriend. My parents were just like, we're not helping you move anymore. You're on your own. Because, they had rented the U-Haul, most of the furniture they had bought, and I left most of it there. When I moved back, I moved back with basically what would fit into my Saturn Ion. That's basically what I moved back with. So I moved in with the good-for-nothing boyfriend, and that's when I learned how really good-for-nothing he was. I was working at a bank in customer service. I was also working at Victoria's Secret at the Mall of America. So I was working 2 jobs to try to make ends meet. I didn't have health insurance. I was back to drinking and smoking marijuana and doing all the things that I left Minneapolis to get away from. And I went back and I started doing all those things again. But then things started to get worse. I started to be abused by my good-for-nothing boyfriend. At first, it was just emotional abuse. But those of you that know emotional abuse, being told you're fat, you have no friends, your family doesn't care about you, you suck at your job, all these horrible things. And then it did turn into physical abuse. Cops were called multiple times. I never pressed charges. And then the worst thing ever that could happen happened, and I got pregnant. They always say they're going to change. They say they're going to change. But the first time that it happened while I was pregnant, I was done. I was gone. I was 4.5 months pregnant at the time, I think. I said, I'm done. I packed myself up in my car, and I moved back to Lake Geneva and moved in with my parents. I told them everything that had been going on because they didn't know. And they said if I ever went back to him, they were never letting me come back. So that was a good enough reason for me. I tried to break off from him. I tried to not talk to him, but I was pregnant with his baby. I was on state assistance. This is the lowest of the low that I could have been at. I had $15,000, $20,000 of credit card debt. And I had no outlook for the future whatsoever. Luckily, my local vet hospital hired me as a secretary because they knew my family, because nobody wanted to hire a 5-month pregnant chick. So, I cut myself off from him. I was doing great. I was going to start back in school. When my son was about a little more than about 2.5 months old, I was going to go back to Whitewater. They were going to let me take 2 classes and see what I could do and see if they were going to let me in full time. And then unfortunately, when I had my son, I had to name a father because I was on state assistance. I should have lied. I should have said I don't know, but I gave him the name of his father, and then I was smack dab having to have contact with him again because we went to court. Seeing him brought on anxiety again, depression. Luckily, I was going to a domestic violence support group, and I was seeing a therapist at the time, which was good. But I still was having anxiety attacks. I was on a whole bunch of medication for the anxiety and the depression and the horrible medication that made me have suicidal ideations. It was just a mess. And, we had to go to court. He was calling me bipolar, denying that he was a violent person. He did admit that he used drugs. So that was one thing. So it made it that he had to have supervised visitation, and he had to come down from Minneapolis to Walworth County to have visitation. So, I went through all that, luckily got full custody, basically got everything I'd asked for. And, at this time I was going to school. I got A's in both my classes, so I was let back in full time. I got my bachelor's in social work and went on to get my master's in social work. I was working in child protection. I was removing kids from homes. Life was just stressful. And then this thing called Beachbody came along. It's when I was reaching a plateau in my weight loss. I had been doing Weight Watchers and Zumba, and I had just hit a plateau, and then I was introduced to Beachbody, P90X, and Shakeology. And I knew it was a way to get rid of my mountains of debt, because I had tons of debt. I had $100,000 in student loans. I was just drowning in debt. So basically, my Beachbody paycheck was going to my debt. And, I built my business and kind of didn't work the business for 3 years. And then when me and my husband got married, I started rebuilding my business back up again. Because as a single mom with a kid, those of you that know, you don't really see your kid. He's raised by your family. And I'm going really long with this video. Sorry, guys. But I really wanted to give you a background on who I am and the things that I've experienced. So as I was saying, I really started reworking my business because we wanted to have more kids, and I did not want someone else to raise my kids. I wanted to be the one raising my children, because I remembered as a single mom leaving for school, leaving for work, leaving for internship in my car and crying because I was missing everything with my son. I mean, my parents are wonderful. I don't know what I would have done without them. They helped me so much with him, and they still help me so much with him because they have that relationship with him. Because we lived with them for the first five years of his life. We lived with my parents. And obviously my husband is now what he considers his father, because when my son was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, when he was 4, his dad basically disappeared. The courts had told him that he had to take classes at Children's Hospital, and he wouldn't do that. So his visitation was suspended. So he has not seen his dad since he was about 4, and now he's 10. So my husband is dad to him. My dad is dad to him, more so than his real dad, which is a good thing. It's great because he has those solid role models that are never going anywhere. So, I didn't want to do that with my kids, and I wanted to be able to see all of his games. I wanted to be there to get him on the bus in the morning. I wanted to be there when he got off the bus at night. That's what I wanted. I wanted to be there and be there 24/7 and be there. If he's sick, I can go pick him up. That was my dream, and that's what I wanted. So I made it happen. I made my Beachbody salary be double my social work salary, so that when I had my last set of babies, I didn't have to go back to a social work job. So I have been doing this full time now for about 15 months. So you know most of my story. Know that I had twins back in October of 2015, and we actually lost one due to a very rare heart condition that causes immediate cardiac arrest, a condition that you can't test for, that you can't find, that you can't see, that you can't prevent. When she was 6 days old, she had a heart attack, and we couldn't get her heart started soon enough, so her brainstem actually ended up dying. So, a lot of you follow me because you've lost a child. And, it was November of 2015, which seems like forever ago. That is, I think we're at about 15 months ago. And yeah, it's hard, and I'll never get over it, but I can continue to inspire and motivate others that have lost children and help you realize that you're still important, and you still need to put yourself first, and you still need to go for your dreams, because if you don't, who's going to do that? So, luckily I've been blessed to be able to stay home with my kids. I'm blessed to be able to work at my church part-time as a high school youth director, which is an amazing part-time job, which gives me something to do outside the house, gives me something to give back to my community. Because if you own a home business, you can become a homebody if you have kids and own your own business. So that's really the nutshell of who I am. And I am affiliated with Team Beachbody, but you do not need to be using Beachbody products for me to help you. I have general accountability groups. I do clean eating ab groups. We actually have our clean eating ab challenge going on right now. It's usually the first week of the month, first Monday of the month. The dog is leaning on me. But I also have paid challenge groups where you get more one-on-one attention from me. And of course, those are paid. I got to pay my bills somehow. But, I have so many ways I would love to help with anything you have going on. It doesn't even have to be health and fitness. As most of you know, I eat paleo. I eat gluten-free, sugar-free, dairy-free, and iron-rich diet. But that is specifically for me because of my food sensitivities. So I know a lot about food sensitivities, gut health, things like that. Healing your gut due to loss and stress. I'm learning. So I'm not a nutrition professional. I'm not a fitness professional. I am just an enthusiast that's been doing this for a very, very long time. I'm a fitness instructor, so I am that. But I just really am here to help, especially if you've experienced a loss like me, if you've experienced domestic violence, if you've experienced depression, addiction, anxiety. These are all things that I've experienced and I would love to help. So I hope everybody enjoys my page. If there is anything that you would like me to cover on this page, just please let me know, because whatever you want me to share on here, someone else might want me to share as well. So have a great day, everybody, and I'll see you within the month. Bye.